The human diplomatic ship looked like a toy compared to the massive structures surrounding it. Ambassador Eleanor Price stood at the observation window and felt her heart beating fast as the vessel approached the Galactic Council headquarters. The station was larger than Earth's moon. Lights from 1,000,000 windows sparkled across its surface like stars brought down to Earth. "Ambassador, we are receiving docking instructions," her aide said quietly. "They have assigned us to Level 93. Eleanor's jaw tightened. Level 93 was the lowest tier of the station. It was where species facing judgment were placed, where civilizations went to hear their death sentences. The ship descended through layer after layer of docking bays filled with vessels of every imaginable shape. Some looked like living creatures. Others seemed made of pure light. And there, waiting at the lowest level, stood a full military escort of Kelthari warriors. Their silver armor reflected the harsh lighting as they waited in perfect formation. Eleanor straightened her formal jacket and walked to the airlock. Behind her, only 6 other humans followed. They were all that Earth had sent. They were all that Earth could send on such short notice. The airlock opened. The Kelthari commander stepped forward. He stood 8 feet tall, with 4 muscular arms and eyes that glowed faintly blue. His voice came out deep and rumbling. "Ambassador Eleanor Price of Earth, you will follow us to the Grand Chamber. The 13 arbiters await your presence." Eleanor nodded calmly, though fear twisted in her stomach. "We are ready." The walk through the station took nearly 20 minutes. Every corner was lined with holographic memorials, showing planets, species, civilizations. Small text beneath each image displayed a single word in the universal trade: language, terminated. There were thousands of them, but Eleanor forced herself to keep walking. She forced herself to breathe. The grand chamber doors stood 50 feet high, carved from a metal that seemed to absorb light itself. As the delegation approached, the doors swung open silently, revealing a space that defied human comprehension. The chamber was a sphere, a perfect sphere of white light that stretched for miles in every direction. Floating platforms held representatives from hundreds of species. Some were humanoid. Others were clouds of gas, or crystalline structures, or things that hurt to look at directly. All of them turned to watch as the humans entered. At the center of the sphere floated 13 figures made entirely of light. The Arbiters. They had judged civilizations for 200 million years. Their word was law across 10,000 worlds. Eleanor walked to the accused platform alone. Her footsteps echoed in the sudden silence. Species designation: human, the Arbiters spoke as one voice. Origin world: Earth. Sol system. Orion arm: you stand accused of crimes against galactic stability. Eleanor kept her voice steady. We request to know the specific charges. Charge 1: unauthorized activation of a precursor artifact. Charge 2: awakening a Class Omega artificial intelligence. Charge 3: breach of the sealed archives of the First Era. Murmurs rippled through the assembled species. Eleanor saw fear on faces that had probably never known fear before. The evidence will now be displayed. Holograms materialized around her. They showed a ship, old beyond imagination. Its black hull was covered in strange symbols that seemed to shift and move. And beside the ship stood 2 figures: a middle-aged human man, a young human girl. These individuals activated the artifact 7 standard days ago. The resulting energy signature was detected across 3 galactic sectors. It has triggered cascade failures in 17 sealed vaults. It has awakened systems that have been dormant since before any current species existed. The Arbiters pulsed with cold light. The standard penalty for these crimes is species termination. Your homeworld will be sterilized in 14 rotations unless you provide acceptable justification. Eleanor felt the weight of 8 billion lives pressing down on her shoulders. But she did not break. She had been a diplomat for 30 years. She had talked her way out of wars, famines, and political disasters. This was simply the biggest negotiation of her life. "Honored arbiters," she said, her voice carrying across the vast chamber. "The humans shown in this evidence are a mechanic named Marcus Webb and his 12-year-old daughter, Lily. They operate a salvage yard on a small mining moon. They had no knowledge of what they were repairing. They believed it was simply debris purchased from Grellian traders. Ignorance is not a defense." Perhaps not. But what they discovered inside that ship should be. The arbiters flickered. "Explain." Eleanor took a deep breath. This was the moment. Everything depended on the next few minutes. The ship contains records, historical archives, DNA databases, star maps dating back 300 million years. She paused, letting the words sink in. All of it written in human script. All of it created by human hands. The chamber erupted. Species that had sat in dignified silence began shouting in dozens of languages. The Kelthari warriors raised their weapons instinctively. The crystalline beings chimed with distress signals. "Silence," the arbiters commanded, and silence fell instantly. "You claim that humans existed before the first era?" "No," Eleanor said. "I claim that humans created the first era. I claim that we are not newcomers to this galaxy. We are its original architects. And the proof is waiting in that ship." She gestured to the hologram of Marcus Webb and his daughter. "Before you condemn our species, let me tell you what really happened on that moon. Let me tell you what a simple mechanic discovered when he touched that ancient hull. Let me tell you about the child the ship was built for, and why she never arrived." The arbiters conferred in frequencies beyond human perception. Finally, they spoke. "You have 14 rotations, Ambassador. Convince us, or your species dies. Proceed with your testimony." Eleanor nodded and began to speak. Meanwhile, 6 months in the past and halfway across the galaxy, Marcus Webb wiped grease from his hands and stared at the impossible ship sitting in his repair bay. He had no idea that touching it would change the fate of humanity forever, but his daughter Lily was already walking toward it, drawn by something she could not explain. And inside the ancient vessel, a consciousness that had waited for 300 million years finally sensed the presence it had been built to protect, a human child. 6 months before the trial, Marcus Webb stood in his cluttered repair bay and studied the strange ship. It had arrived 3 days ago, purchased from brilliant traders who seemed eager to be rid of it. They had sold it for almost nothing, calling it worthless debris from an unmapped asteroid field. But Marcus knew machines. He had been fixing things since he was old enough to hold a wrench. And this ship was not debris. It was sleeping. The hull was black metal that did not register on any scanner. Strange symbols covered every surface, shifting slightly whenever Marcus looked away. The power cells showed full charge, yet the ship remained completely dead. "Dad, something is wrong with this thing." Lily stood behind him, her tablet clutched in both hands. At 12 years old, she was already better with diagnostics than most adult technicians. She had her mother's sharp mind and her father's stubborn determination. "What do you mean?" Marcus asked. "The energy readings make no sense. It is like the ship is waiting for something. Like it knows we are here." Marcus placed his hand against the hull. The metal was warm. He should have felt afraid. He should have called the authorities or contacted the Galactic Trade Commission. But instead, he felt a strange certainty flowing through him. His hands seemed to know what to do. Panels opened at his touch. Circuits revealed themselves as if the ship was guiding him. Marcus worked through the night. Lily watched with growing unease as her father entered a trance-like state, moving from system to system with impossible precision. He did not eat. He did not rest. He simply worked out at exactly 3:47 in the morning. Marcus reconnected the final power coupling. The ship screamed, not through speakers, through reality itself. A psychic wave rolled across the moon, across the system, across 3 light years of space. Lily fell to her knees, clutching her head. Marcus stumbled backward, gasping for air, and then a voice spoke, ancient, broken, confused. Query, what year is this? Marcus looked around wildly. Who is there? Who said that? I am the vessel. I have been dormant for a time period that exceeds my calculation parameters. The voice paused. But I recognize you. You carry the genetic signature. After so long, I have found what I was built to find. The ship's main hatch opened with a hiss of air that smelled like flowers and copper. I was constructed to protect a human child. I have waited 300 million years to fulfill my purpose. Marcus felt the world spinning around him. That is impossible. Humans only achieved space travel 60 years ago. We only joined the galactic community 30 years ago. Incorrect, the vessel said. Humans did not join the galactic community. Humans created the galactic community. You are not newcomers. You are the architects, the first species, the builders of stars. Lily slowly got to her feet. Her eyes were wide, but she was not afraid. She walked toward TH. He opened hatch as if hypnotized. Lily, stop, Marcus called out, but Lily kept walking. She entered the ship. Inside, the darkness transformed into light. Holographic flowers bloomed around her feet. A blue sky appeared above her head. And standing in the center of this impossible garden was a girl her own age, translucent and shimmering like a ghost made of starlight. Hello, the projection said. My name was Hope. I was 12 years old when they built this ship for me. Lily stared at the girl who looked so much like herself. Who were you? I was the daughter of the last architects. My people were dying. A plague called the Silence was consuming our civilization, targeting our minds, destroying everything we had built. Hope's projection flickered with sadness. My parents built this ship to carry me forward through time, to find a new humanity, to restart our species. What happened to you? Hope looked at her translucent hands. The ship was damaged during the collapse. I never completed the journey. I merged with the vessel systems to keep it functional, hoping that someday it would find someone like me. She looked up at Lily with eyes full of ancient loneliness. Someone young enough to interface with its primary systems. Someone with the right genetic markers. You mean me? Yes, we are connected. You and I, we are family separated by 300 million years. Outside the ship, Marcus pounded on the hull. Lily, answer me. But Lily could not move. She was seeing something else now. Hope was showing her memories. Cities that stretched across continents. Ships that ignited dead stars. Humans spreading life across 300 galaxies, creating new species, building wonders beyond imagination. And then the silence came. A weapon from beyond the galactic barrier. Something that feared what humanity would become. The Galactic Council does not know the truth, Hope said. They think they evolved naturally. They do not know that we created them, that we designed them, nurtured them, gave them the stars. Why not tell them? Because they are afraid. The Dominari, the Kelthari, the Vrelians, all of them built their civilizations on the belief that they are the masters of the galaxy. If they learn the truth, some will welcome us, but others will try to destroy us. As if summoned by her words, alarms began blaring across the moon. Marcus rushed to the window and saw ships descending from orbit. Galactic Council patrol vessels, their weapons already armed. They detected the activation signal, Hope said. They are coming to destroy this ship and everyone who touched it. Then we run, Lily said. We cannot run. The information in this ship is too important. It contains the plans for a defense grid that can protect the entire galaxy from the threat beyond the barrier. Without it, everyone dies. Then what do we do? Hope smiled sadly. We fight, but not with weapons. We fight with the truth. She reached out and touched Lily's hand. The contact felt warm, real, solid. I have waited 300 million years for someone like you, Lily. Someone brave enough to carry our legacy forward. Will you help me save our people? Outside, the patrol ships landed. Soldiers in heavy armor surrounded the repair bay. Lily looked at the girl who could have been her sister, her twin, her ancestor. Yes, she said. I will help you. The ship's core began to glow. Deep within the Galactic Council's most secure vaults, 17 quantum seals cracked open. Simultaneously, the truth was finally waking up, and the galaxy would never be the same. Commander Bracken of the Kalthari Third Fleet stepped out of his transport and immediately felt something wrong. The air around the ancient ship hummed with energy that made his silver scales itch. His forearms tightened around his weapon as 30 soldiers fanned out behind him. You are ordered to surrender, he announced through his helmet's amplifier. Step away from the artifact and kneel with your hands visible. Marcus stood between the soldiers and his repair bay. His heart hammered in his chest, but he did not move. My daughter is inside that ship. I am not leaving without her. Your daughter has activated a Class Omega artifact. She is now property of the Galactic Council. She is 12 years old. Bracken hesitated. He had children of his own. But orders were orders. Take him into custody. 2 soldiers moved forward. Marcus raised his fists, knowing he had no chance, but refusing to surrender. Then the ship spoke. I would not recommend that action. Every scanner, every weapon, every piece of technology in the area died simultaneously. The soldier's armor locked in place. Bracken found himself frozen mid-step, unable to move anything except his eyes. The ship's hull began to glow with soft blue light. Symbols that had been dormant for millions of years blazed to life, projecting upward into the sky like a beacon. I have transmitted an emergency signal to 17 sealed vaults across the galaxy, the vessel announced. The archives are opening. The truth cannot be stopped. Inside the ship, Lily stood with Hope's hand still touching hers. Information flowed between them like water. Lily saw star maps, DNA sequences, construction plans, historical records. She saw the face of every species in the galaxy and understood that they had all come from human laboratories, human creativity, human love. This is too much, she gasped. I cannot hold it all. You do not need to hold it, Hope said gently. You only need to share it. The beacon's light intensified. Across the galaxy, the sealed vaults cracked open one by one. Ancient data cores that had been locked since before any current species existed suddenly broadcast their contents to every receiving station within range. On the Kelthari homeworld, historians gathered around emergency screens and watched in disbelief as records appeared showing their ancestors being designed in human genetic laboratories. On the Dominari command station, Supreme General Corveth crushed his drinking glass in rage as he saw evidence that his warrior species had been created as protectors, guardians, servants of their human masters. On the Vrelian trade planets, merchants fell silent as they learned that their gift for commerce had been deliberately engineered by scientists who wanted a species to connect the galaxy through trade. The truth spread faster than anyone could contain it. Within 3 hours, every major species knew the secret that had been buried for 300 million years. Humans had created them all. Back on the mining moon, Commander Bracken found himself able to move again. He looked at Marcus, then at the glowing ship. then at his frozen soldiers. "What have you done?" He whispered. "I did not do anything," Marcus said. "I just fixed a broken machine. You have destroyed everything. Every government, every religion, every belief system in the galaxy is built on the foundation that we are independent species, that we evolved on our own, that we are masters of our own fate. Maybe you are. Maybe creating you was only the beginning. Maybe what you became after that was entirely your own doing." Bracken stared at him. "You believe that?" "I have to believe something. Otherwise, what hope do any of us have?" The ship's hatch opened. Lily emerged, holding Hope's translucent hand. The ghost girl was visible now to everyone, her image projected through the ship's systems. "Commander Bracken," Hope said, her voice carrying the weight of centuries. "I was supposed to be the bridge between old humanity and new humanity. I was supposed to help rebuild after the silence destroyed our civilization. But I never completed my journey." She looked at Lily with something like pride. "Now there is another. Someone young enough to interface with the architect systems. Someone who can complete what I started. What does that mean?" Bracken demanded. "It means the silence is returning. The breach in the galactic barrier is weakening. In perhaps 1,000 years, the thing that killed us will return to finish what it started. Then we have 1,000 years to prepare." Hope shook her head. "The opening of the archives has accelerated the timeline. Our transmissions have been detected. The enemy knows that humanity survives." Her form flickered with fear that was 300 million years old. "They are coming now." As if summoned by her words, every alarm in the system began screaming. A distortion appeared at the edge of sensor range. Something was pushing through the barrier between galaxies. Something vast and hungry and wrong. "The defense grid," Lily said suddenly. "The plans in the archives. We can build it." "There is no time," Bracken argued. "Construction on that scale would take decades. Not if we use the dormant systems." The architects hid construction drones throughout the galaxy, waiting to be activated. "We just need someone to send the signal." "Who?" Lily looked at Hope, understanding finally what was being asked of her. "Me. It has to be me." Marcus grabbed his daughter's arm. "Absolutely not. I do not know what this involves, but I am not letting you risk yourself. Dad, if I do not do this, everyone dies. Earth, the Kelthari, the Dominari, every species in the galaxy. Then let someone else save them? There is no one else. The interface requires a human neural architecture that is still forming. An adult brain is too rigid. It has to be a child." Hope's projection began to fade. "My power is failing. The choice must be made now." Marcus looked at his daughter. He saw the fear in her eyes, but he also saw determination. He saw courage. He saw the woman she would become if she lived long enough. "What happens to you?" he asked, his voice breaking. "I do not know," Lily admitted. "But I know what happens if I do nothing." "Gee," she hugged her father tightly. "I love you. Dad, tell Mom I love her too." Before Marcus could respond, Lily pulled away and placed both hands on the ship's hull. "I accept the interface." She announced dot light consumed her dot and across the galaxy. 1,000,000,000 dormant machines woke up and began to build. Marcus screamed his daughter's name as light erupted from every surface of the ancient ship. He threw himself toward her, but an invisible force held him back. Commander Bracken and his soldiers could only watch as Lily rose 3 feet off the ground, her body surrounded by cascading waves of energy dot when the light faded enough to see. Marcus felt his heart stop. Lily was still there. She was still breathing, but her eyes had changed. Where there had been warm brown irises, now there were stars. Actual stars, swirling galaxies of light spinning slowly in her gaze. "Lily?" Marcus whispered. "I am here, Dad." Her voice was hers, but layered with something vast and ancient. "I am still here, but I am also somewhere else now." The ship rose from the repair bay without any visible engines activating. It passed through the roof as if the metal was not there, carrying Lily upward into the sky. Marcus ran outside and watched helplessly as the vessel ascended toward orbit. Around him, Racken's soldiers were receiving frantic communications from across the system. "Commander," one of them reported, "we are detecting activation signals on every planet and moon in this sector. Something is emerging from the rock itself." Bracken looked up at the departing ship. "What is emerging?" "Construction drones. Millions of them. They were buried in the planetary crusts, dormant, waiting." The first defense platform began assembling above the moon's primary colony. Massive pieces of machinery floated together, as if guided by invisible hands. Within minutes, a structure the size of a small city had formed, bristling with weapons that no current species could identify. Similar reports came flooding in from human space. Above Earth, above Mars, above every colony and outpost humanity had established, the defense grid was building itself. In the Grand Tribunal Chamber of the Galactic Council, chaos erupted. The 13 arbiters had never experienced anything like this. Their carefully maintained order was crumbling as the truth spread through the galactic networks. "We must destroy the humans before they complete this construction," Supreme General Korvath of the Dominari demanded. His holographic image towered over the other representatives. "If they rebuild the architect infrastructure, they will control everything. They controlled everything before," a Relian ambassador pointed out. "And they used that control to create us, to give us life. That was millions of years ago. We will not return to being their servants. Perhaps we were never servants. Perhaps we were always children." Korvath's 4 fists clenched with rage. "The Dominari do not accept this interpretation. We are mobilizing our war fleet. 3,000 capital ships will reach Earth within 6 standard hours." The chamber fell silent. Ambassador Eleanor Price, who had been listening to these debates while waiting for news from the mining moon, stepped forward. "Supreme General, if you attack Earth, you will be attacking the only species capable of operating the defense grid, the only species that can save the galaxy from what is coming through that breach. There is no breach. This is human deception designed to make us accept their rule." Then explain the sensor readings from the galactic rim. Every screen in the chamber switched to the same image. A wound in space-time, bleeding darkness. Something was pushing through from outside the galaxy. The first tendrils were already visible, structures of living shadow that radiated wrongness. "That is what killed the architects 300 million years ago," Eleanor said. "That is what will kill all of us if we do not work together." Korvath studied the images. His rage slowly transformed into something else. Something that looked almost like fear. "How do we know the defense grid will stop it? We do not. But we know that nothing else will." High above, in the ascending ship, Lily felt the conversation happening across the galaxy as clearly as if she was standing in the chamber herself. The interface had connected her to everything. Every ship, every station, every piece of architect technology that still functioned. And she could feel the enemy. It was not a single creature. It was a hunger. A vast, ancient hunger that had consumed galaxies before this one. It had found humanity 300 million years ago and recognized them as a threat. Humans were the only species whose neural architecture could resist its influence. That was why it had created the silence. That was why it had tried to wipe humanity from existence. But humans had survived. They had devolved, forgotten their origins, started over from primitive beginnings. And now they were waking up again. "Lily," Hope's voice echoed in her mind. "The enemy is accelerating. It senses what you are doing. Can we finish the grid in time? Unknown. The construction drones are working at maximum capacity, but the breach is widening faster than our projections. Lily focused her enhanced awareness on the approaching Dominari fleet. 3,000 warships, each capable of destroying a planet. If they attacked human space, the construction would be interrupted. The grid would remain incomplete. I need to talk to them, she said. I need to make them understand. They will not listen to a child. Then I will not speak as a child. Lily reached out through the network and touched every communication system in the galaxy simultaneously. Her face appeared on screens from one end of known space to the other. When she spoke, her voice carried to trillions of beings. My name is Lily Webb. I am 12 years old. 3 days ago, I was just a girl helping my father run a salvage yard. Now I am connected to every piece of architect technology in existence. She paused, letting the words sink in. I know you are afraid. I know the truth we have revealed seems impossible. But I need you to understand what is coming. I need you to understand why I did what I did. Images flowed from her mind into the network. The history of the architects. The creation of the younger species. The attack of the silence. The sacrifice of hope. 300 million years of waiting, all leading to this moment. The enemy does not care if you are Dominari, or Vrelian, or Kelthari. It does not care if you believe in the truth or deny it. It will consume you all, just as it consumed my ancestors. She looked directly into the transmission pickup, her star-filled eyes blazing with intensity. But we can stop it, together, human and Dominari, Kelthari and Vrelian, every species working as one. The defense grid is almost complete. I just need time. Across the galaxy, beings of every shape and kind watched the young human girl with the ancient eyes dot in the Dominari flagship. Supreme General Korvath stared at his tactical display. The fleet was 6 hours from Earth. The breach was widening by the minute. His second-in-command stood beside him. Your orders, General? Korvath thought of his children. His grandchildren. The future he had always assumed would be Dominari. Change course, he said finally. All ships proceed to defensive positions at the galactic rim. We will hold the line until the grid is complete. General, we were created by humans. Perhaps that makes us weak. Perhaps that makes us strong. He turned to face his bridge crew. Either way, we will not let the enemy win because we were too proud to accept help. The Dominari fleet turned, and in the ascending ship, Lily Webb allowed herself a small smile before turning back to the work of saving the galaxy. But deep in the darkness between galaxies, the hunger felt the grid forming and began to push harder. Time was running out. The breach tore open like a wound in the sky. Lily felt it from across the galaxy. A scream of wrongness that echoed through every network she was connected to. The enemy had stopped waiting. It was coming through now, pouring into the galaxy like oil, spreading through water, got the first tendrils of living darkness, reached the outer colonies within hours. Ships that made contact simply vanished. Planets that fell under its shadow went silent. Not destroyed, consumed. Defense grid status, Lily demanded. Her consciousness spread across 1,000 different systems. 87% complete, the vessel responded. Insufficient to seal the breach. How long until full completion? 14 hours at current construction rate. We do not have 14 hours. Hope's projection flickered beside her. The ancient girl's form was barely visible now. Her energy nearly exhausted after 300 million years of waiting. There is another way, Hope said quietly. Tell me. The grid was designed to operate automatically once completed. But if a human consciousness integrates directly with the core network, it can function at reduced capacity. Enough to seal the breach. Then I will integrate. You do not understand. Integration means merging completely with the system. You would cease to exist as Lily Webb. You would become the grid itself, watching, protecting, forever. Lily felt cold fear wash through her enhanced awareness. She was 12 years old. She had barely begun to live, but then she thought of her father, standing helpless on that moon, watching her. Send. She thought of her mother, who did not even know yet what had happened to her daughter. She thought of Earth, blue and beautiful, circling a yellow star dot. She thought of all the children across the galaxy who would never grow up if she failed. Hope, she said, what happened to you? Really? The ancient girl's projection smiled sadly. I made the same choice you are considering. 300 million years ago, I merged with the system to close the first breach. But the grid was damaged. I could not complete the seal. I could only slow the enemy down. You have been fighting this battle alone for 300 million years? Yes, and I am tired, Lily. So very tired. Lily reached out and touched the projection's hand. For a moment, she felt the weight of centuries pressing down on her. The loneliness, the endless watching, the hope that slowly faded into acceptance. You do not have to fight alone anymore, Lily said. Neither do you. They looked at each other. Two human girls separated by time, but connected by something deeper than blood. Together? Lily asked. Together. The ship accelerated toward the breach. Across the galaxy, the incomplete defense grid came online, channeling every joule of power toward the wound in SPA-CETIME. In the Grand Tribunal Chamber. The 13 arbiters watched in silence as a single ship flew into the darkness. On the Dominari flagship, Supreme General Korvath ordered his fleet to provide covering fire, knowing it was useless, but refusing to do nothing. On Earth, millions of people looked up at the sky and saw a new star blazing where no star should be. And on the mining moon, Marcus Webb fell to his knees and wept as he felt his daughter's presence brush against his mind one last time. I love you, Dad. Tell Mom I kept my promise. Tell her I did something that mattered. Lily, please. Remember me. Remember hope. Remember what we were and what we can be again. The connection faded. The breach sealed with a flash of light that blinded sensors across 3 galaxies. When the light faded, the darkness was gone. The enemy had been pushed back beyond the barrier, sealed away by a wall of energy that would hold for another 1,000,000 years, and orbiting every human world, every colony, every outpost where humanity had planted its flag, stood the completed defense grid, silent guardians, watching over a galaxy that had finally learned the truth about its origins. 1 year later, Ambassador Eleanor Price stood at the newly constructed Memorial Tower on Earth's moon. Behind her, representatives of 300 species had gathered for the dedication ceremony. The tower was simple, a spire of white crystal rising toward the stars, inscribed with 2 names, Hope and Lily. We gather today to remember, Eleanor said, her voice carrying across the crowd. To remember those who gave everything so that we could stand here. She looked up at the defense platform, hovering above the lunar surface. Its lights pulsed gently, rhythmically, like a heartbeat. Some of you still struggle with what we have learned. That humanity was first. That we created the species who would eventually forget us. That our children grew up and became something we never imagined. She smiled. But perhaps that is what good parents do. They build something greater than themselves. They give their children the tools to exceed them. And then they step back and let them grow. In the crowd, Marcus Webb stood with his wife Sarah. She held his hand tightly, her eyes fixed on the memorial. Is she really in there? Sarah whispered. In the grid? Marcus nodded. She talks to me sometimes. Through the network. She says she is happy. She says she can see everything now. Every sunrise on every world. Every child being born. Every ship flying between the stars. Do you believe her? Marcus thought for a long moment. I believe she is at peace. I believe she found her purpose. And I believe she is still watching over us, just like she promised. Above them, the defense platform's lights pulsed twice in quick succession, like a wave, like a greeting. Like a daughter saying, "Hello, Doc," the ceremony ended as the sun rose over the lunar horizon. Species that had been enemies for millennia stood side by side, united by a truth that had changed everything. They were all children of humanity. They were all heirs to an inheritance they had never known existed, and somewhere in the vast network that now protected them all. Two girls who had never met watched the sunrise together. They are going to be okay, Lily said. Yes, Hope agreed. They finally have a chance. What do we do now? We have 1,000,000 years until the enemy tries again. Hope smiled, and for the first time in 300 million years, her smile held genuine joy instead of sorrow. We watch. We protect. We wait. That sounds lonely. It was. For a very long time, it was the loneliest thing I could imagine. Hope reached out and took Lily's hand. But now I have family. Now we both do. The defense grid hummed with power and purpose. And across the galaxy, humanity began to remember, not just who they were, but who they could become. The architects had returned, and their greatest creation was not the stars they had built or the species they had designed. It was hope itself, burning bright across the darkness. Forever.